Hello, my fantastic Finance 139 class. I'm hoping I do not get picked for this presentation, but knowing my luck, I probably will. So I'm doing my case study on Amazon versus Barnes & Noble, and my name is Mike Podesto. Alright, so the first thing that I was asked to do was find the annual sales and cost of goods sold for Barnes & Noble. I did that by going on the Barnes & Noble's website and investor relations and pulling up their annual report and looking at their income statement and balance sheet. Next, I was asked to get the daily sales and daily cost of goods sold, which you basically just got the annual sales and cost of goods sold and divided them by 365, and that gave you those numbers. Next, I needed to look up inventories, accounts receivable, and accounts payable. So I did that. To get that, you had to add the ending and the beginning inventories and then divide it by 2. So you had to get the average inventories. Well, that's just for inventories. You did the same thing with accounts receivable and the same thing with accounts payable. So this is the average inventories, accounts receivable, and accounts payable. Next, you use the average inventories and divide it by the daily cost of goods sold that we just showed you to get the inventory conversion period, which is 106.73 days. Next, we wanted to find the receivables collection period, which is just the average accounts receivable divided by the daily sales, and that gives you 8.39 days. Lastly, we had to get the payables deferral period, which we get by getting the average accounts payable and dividing it by the daily cost of goods sold. Then we had to find the cash conversion cycle. So to do that, you get the inventory conversion period, add the receivables collection period, and subtract the payables deferral period, and that gets you 52.98 days. So moving on to Amazon, basically just did the same thing, but with Amazon, we found the annual sales, cost of goods sold, and then for the daily sales and daily cost of goods sold, we just divided them by 365. So inventories, accounts receivable, and accounts payable, once again, we just added the ending and beginning inventories, accounts receivable, and accounts payable, and then divided them by 2 to get the averages. So the numbers that you're seeing here are the averages. To get the accounts receivable, inventory conversion period, we use the average inventories and divide it by the daily cost of goods sold. To get the receivables collection period, we use the accounts receivable and divide it by the daily sales. And for the payables deferral period, get the accounts payable and divide it by the daily sales. So finally, for the cash conversion cycle for Amazon, we use the inventory conversion period, add the receivables collection period, and subtract the payables deferral period, which gets us a negative number of negative 24.90 days. So when comparing the cash conversion cycles for Barnes & Noble and Amazon, it is interesting to see the results. Amazon has a negative cash conversion cycle of negative 24.90 days, while Barnes & Noble's has a positive cash conversion cycle at 52.98 days. So a factor that could have caused these numbers is the large difference in inventories between companies. Amazon has an advantage being an online retailer because it is able to keep inventory expenses very minimal. This is common among online retailers and is not just firm specific. So this means that Amazon doesn't pay its suppliers for the goods that it buys until it receives payment for selling those goods. Therefore, they do not need to hold very much inventory and still hold on to their money for a longer period of time. The same but opposite would be true for Barnes & Noble's with a higher positive CCC. Barnes & Noble is paying for the goods long before they are selling them, which requires them to hold on to more inventory and for a longer period of time, costing them over $1.3 billion in inventory alone. Crazy stuff. Cool. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed my presentation and have a great rest of the night.